Hey folks, it's not lunch with Mal. It's Mal talking about something Mal's deeply unqualified to talk about, and that is the law. Not a lawyer. Nothing I say in this video is legal advice, but it is my understanding of the law and my understanding of how I have to operate within the law. Um, so for that, hopefully it's worth something to you. But this is about AI law. AI laws are coming into effect in the United States. I actually have done very little research on AI laws in Canada as yet, nor have I done significant research on AI laws in Europe and the UK. That's coming along. I'm diving in. But there is an imminent law coming in New York that we need to talk about. And that is S82 20-A. There's a dash B that's coming later on that we will also talk about. It was signed into law in December and it comes into effect Monday, this coming Monday. What does this law say? Let me bring up the exact text because I am working my being very specific. Um, so the law says, um, thank you. Um, the law says that basically any synthetic performer used in an audiovisual or visual ad, and again, this is New York's law, any synthetic performer used in a visual or an audio-visual ad needs to be disclosed. And it covers images, it covers video without audio, it covers video with audio. Ironically, audio alone is not covered. There are carve-outs into this law as well, that if it's like an audio visual ad made for a TV show or a movie where the actual character is also synthetic, then you can get away with it. If you're using a synthetic performer in an ad showing a character in a video game where the character in the video game is also synthetic, that's okay because it's a synthetic performer advertising a synthetic performer. It's when you have a synthetic performer advertising a real thing that it comes into play. And the law is, hey, everyone, the law is broad, like super broad. It was discussed how crazily broad this law is, and the language survived because it doesn't just target generative AI. It doesn't just target AI images. The law says a digitally created asset made with generative AI or a software algorithm intended to create an impression of a performance of a human performer not recognizable as any identifiable natural performer. So if you had an algorithmic creation, which could involve like any book cover that you run through Photoshop, like it's that broad, because if Photoshop used an algorithm to alter the appearance, like the magic brush tool that's been in Photoshop for 1,000 years, to alter the appearance of a real person to make them into a person that is not recognizable or identifiable as any natural performer. So you just change the way a model looks to make them look unique. Boom, you're now caught in this dragnet. Um, this law will then capture it. It's very fuzzy, and no litigation has happened around this law yet. It hasn't come into effect, so of course no one can claim harm and then undergo the litigation because there's been a lot of opposition around this, that it is like a CGI character that is highly realistic that you make for a book that needs to be flagged as a synthetic performer um, used in the ad. So that's a very big deal. That affects anyone running ads in New York State starting Monday. If there's an algorithm was used to create the character or modify their appearance, digitally created asset, or it's a straight up Gen AI thing. Basically, anything that doesn't look like a real person that was made with a computer falls into this, and in the very broad language that it has, and that's just of course a problem. Um, you need to disclose when the ad is shown in the state of New York that that's the case. Otherwise, it's a $1,000 fine the first time, $5,000 fine subsequent times, and would be for every ad too. So if you're like running 10 ads, yes, you're looking at $46,000 in fines. The I would agree, Dharma. It doesn't seem to be logical how they've done this. I can understand wanting to protect actors, and also like wanting to like protect people against ads where like customer testimonial ads where it looks like real people are saying that real things happened when it's all synthetic and no real people said these things. That makes perfect sense. But this is so broad that it captures a lot of stuff. And the advertising industry has like flagged this as like, this is ridiculously broad. This is a huge problem. And there is some it's actually possible that the law could be like struck down after it comes out because it's unconstitutionally vague. Now, Hawaii has a law that has already been signed, has been passed through their House and Senate that uses the same wording. They clearly lifted it right from New York. Their Senate did add an exception. I forget what it is now. Basically, the exception that the Senate added in Hawaii is stronger wording around that the synthetic performer has to look human. So here's the interesting thing: the less human your synthetic performer looks like, the more you're okay. So like if you used AI to make a drawing, like a handmade drawing, I think you'd actually be fine because no one could argue that like an illustrated character is someone like intending to look like a real human. The New York language is kind of vague around that. The Hawaii language is actually pretty clear that you could make an argument that an illustration of a human made by Gen AI is not a synthetic performer. So that is good there. But this is something I think you need to be aware of. Ironically, this means that the more realistic an AI image or video being used for advertising in New York, the more realistic it is, the more trouble you're in, right? The less you could argue that this is not intended to look real. So I think this is a legitimate thing that especially people in the United States need to keep in mind. And one of your ways around this is just don't show your ads in New York. When you're choosing your locations for ads, you can just turn off New York. But it's definitely worth considering and taking some sort of action. And your actions are basically twofold. I mean, I guess you have three options. Don't use anything that looks like a human that can't immediately be identified as a human in your ads. Or so you can use Gen AI and show a picture of a shadow, a person's shadow on the ground in a city. Like that's fine, right? Because no one's saying that a shadow is a synthetic performer, or hopefully no one's going to say a shadow is a synthetic performer. But if you're using someone that looks very human but doesn't look like an actual person, then you're in trouble. And I think maybe that's that's how they're trying to protect actors' careers. I'm not sure about that, but and your third option is just disclose. So you just put it in the bottom of your primary text on the ad. It just says this ad contains synthetic performers created by an algorithm or something like that, because generative AI is also an algorithm. Yeah, I guess you can make an argument that it's not exactly an algorithm, but that's splitting hairs about what an algorithm means. I think you could actually get away with not having to say generative AI in your disclosure. Now, I am not a lawyer, and that's not legal advice. If you want to be super strict, you have to, like it says, has to be conspicuous as well. The notice has to be conspicuous. So I don't know if at the bottom of your primary text counts as conspicuous or not. Again, not a lawyer. This is not legal advice, but I think what I would probably do is just put at the bottom of the ad, the bottom of the primary text, saying this ad may contain a synthetic performer created by an algorithm, and just roll with that. And then I could, I also don't live in the United States, so I am not actually subject to this law. The interesting thing is that, very interesting about this law is that it doesn't target the people running the ad, doesn't target Facebook, doesn't target Google, targets the actual advertiser, which is lovely. It means Facebook doesn't have to do anything about it. So again, New York's law takes effect on Monday. It is real. It has real teeth. If you are running ads with AI or CGI characters that are done so well they look human, you are subject to this law. My understanding, and again, all disclosures apply about not being a lawyer, is that your book cover is probably not going to be a problem. If your book cover having an AI character or a CGI character on it wouldn't be a problem. And again, the New York law is a little bit vague, but the less human, the less of a chance that you could say this is something made to look human that isn't human, like it's intended to kind of fool people into thinking that this is an actual person saying an actual thing. The less like that it is, the better. So it's like overly CGI, like you look at it, you're like, that is obviously CGI. Then you're likely to be better. Okay. And again, the Hawaii law actually is more specific around that. You don't live in New York. You are correct, Dharma. And so I don't know how that would work, because it would be New York issuing a fine against you. I don't know how that works across state lines. It could be that New York has that there's agreements between states that would, like, I don't know, like, does the interstate commerce law allow states to levy fines on people in other states? I know that if you sell books in New York, and over a certain volume, New York expects their taxes to be collected for them by you and remitted, and they have mechanisms to enforce that. So that's an area that I don't understand very well. I feel like living in Canada, I'm relatively safe. I just might not want to go to New York if I violate this law and get fines. There's a lot of gray around this. I honestly think, I mean, if I didn't want to put things on my ads saying that they might contain synthetic performers created by an algorithm, I might just not show my ads in New York, and you can just do that. What channel was this before a scam took it over? This has always been my channel. I have no idea what you're talking about. You're insane, person. Anyway, the Hawaii law is sitting on the governor's desk. It has not yet been signed. It's been sitting there since May 7th. Its enactment date is set for 2077, which is a thing apparently they do in Hawaii if they want it to be discussed more before it's signed. It's possible it might get vetoed. I think what they're probably waiting to do is see what happens with New York's law before they try to bring their law into effect. There is also been a lot of talk about a California law, and people are like, oh, this is going to change everything for AI. The California law is actually a variant of a Washington state law that's already in effect. And the California law just basically says that people who make the AI images and has carve-outs for smaller companies. So I think you have to have like either making 1 million images or have 100,000 subscribers. There's the wording has changed a bit. It's gone through their House and Senate. And I believe it's still in their Senate. It goes after the people making the image, so like Midjourney, Dolly, ChatGPT, those kinds of people that make the images. If they're of a certain size, those companies have to put a watermark into the image and then provide a tool that can detect the watermark and say if the image was made with AI, which I actually have absolutely no issue with. That's A-okay. But that law does not affect advertisers, users of the images in any way, shape, or form. And there seem to be like two variants of laws. One's like that, they're kind of like floating around. Colorado has a law that I actually need to double check exactly what it says. Actually, I have it in my notes. Let me see if I can find if I took decent notes about the Colorado law. Let's see. Oh, I have a lot of notes. Sorry about not having this one ready. I'll also double check. Maybe I'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay, Colorado and Utah also have the watermarking law. That's what I thought. And then there's also Tennessee has a law that is about like using a real identifiable likeness without that person's consent. They call it the Elvis Act. So there's a bunch of laws like that floating around. The one that we do need to be concerned about is the B variant. Oh, by the way, this is that's the name of the Hawaii law if you want to look it up. But this New York law, there's a B variant coming through that is being sponsored by the same person that sponsored the A variant, and that would require things like books. Like it's very specifically targeted against things like books. and another media where if you use AI to create the book, then at point of sale, it has to be disclosed that AI was involved in creating this book. So, so that's worth noting, that is something that could happen. Um, it's definitely interesting, and I like very much a watch this space sort of situation to see what's going on in that regard. But yeah, it's the New York one is the most concerning. And like I said again, like your easiest way to avoid this is just don't show your ads in New York. It's you'd have to go manually pick all the states. You can't just exclude a state. You'd have to, instead of just picking the United States, you'd have to go through and pick all 50 states, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but not the end of the world. Um, you might be able to make a custom audience that excludes New York. I'll play around with that and see if that's possible. Um, Tim says, so for ads or free posts that might be shown in New York, might it be wise to just do images without generated people images? Yes, we do. You could just do that. But keep in mind, Tim, the New York law does not say just AI. It says generative AI or algorithm. So, and it's very broad, and there's been a bunch of debate around like, what does this mean? This could mean using Photoshop tools on an image of a person to make it look like like someone you can't recognize. Like you take like a stock photo that everybody uses, and you just like use Photoshop to alter the shape of their face a bit or something like that. Well, now you have a synthetic performer created by an algorithm that doesn't look like an existing person. So did your cover artist do that? And you use the cover art image, right? How many of us even know the answer to that question specifically? I mean, my answer is yes for like a lot of my book covers, and no for a lot of them. It's very clearly recognizable as the art, as the person on the picture. Um, so exactly, Tim, exactly. That's why people that are against the law are saying this is super vague the way it's written and is a huge problem. Yeah, because we don't even know. Well, there is a carve out in the law that says if the advertiser um, doesn't have, could be argued the advertiser didn't know, like they have to be aware of the fact that AI was used. So I guess there is that. Now the thing is, you'd get the fine, and then you'd have to contest the fine, right? So that part kind of sucks. I'm pretty sure that the state of New York is not going to go ask you if you knew before they issue the fine. I'm pretty sure, being a government, they're going to operate the other way around. So that's an angle on that as well. Um, so so yeah, I wish I had like some sort of like, oh, this doesn't matter answer to give everybody, but unfortunately, I don't have that answer. It actually does matter. It does affect people, especially people who live in New York. If you live in New York and you run ads in New York, you are like the person who has to worry the most about this. Um, I don't, like I said, I don't know, and this is something you might have to like do some googling around to sort of find out like how do states enforce fines across state borders. Um, the one thing I do wonder that could possibly happen too is that maybe they might say, well, they might like tell Facebook like this person has violated New York law, and then Facebook might tell you can't advertise anymore. I don't know if Facebook would do that or not, or if Facebook would just remove your ability to advertise in New York, which kind of also solves the problem. I am just going to quickly see how hard it would be to exclude New York. And again, like I said, the other answer is just the bottom of your primary text, put in things as says persons in this ad may have been generated by an algorithm or were generated by an algorithm. So I'm actually just going to quickly share my screen. And because if anyone's curious how to do this, you might be keen on that. All right, share. Okay, so currently it says Canada, and you can't remove it. You have to add something else. Include cities, exclude cities. No, I don't need that. So normally we just do like United States. Oops, I did United Kingdom, and you put in the whole country. But what you could do instead is you could put in like Florida, and then go and like just pick all of the different states, and go through and put those in for your ad. Now, sorry, I just gotta quickly close my door. Jill's talking and it keeps distracting me. I'm back. Okay, but what I'm curious about is, can I create a custom audience that excludes people? It doesn't look like it. Could I do it in audiences? So I'll make sure I'm not going to show other people's accounts. Just give me a quick second here. Create audience. Locations. Oh, yep. Okay, this will work. I think this might work. We'll try it out. Fun times here. Show and tell. Okay, so I went to audiences, which you can get to by going over the side thing, and you can get in here. And I went to create audience, and I clicked on saved audience, and I can give this give the same new. Well, because I don't know if I can exclude a saved audience. We're going to find out together. New York. So there's the state. Now I remove Canada, and I've got the state of New York. I'm just going to uncheck that. Sure, age 25. We'll go down to, yep, that's as far as I can go down there. Create saved audience. Okay, so now I made a saved audience of New York, which is strangely only a lot more people live in New York than that. I guess not all of them are on Facebook. Now, if I go back to my campaign that I was just making, I go into my ad set. So the reason why I'm not sure about this is there are limits to how you do exclusions. Here we are. So I can exclude custom audiences. Yeah, so that's the thing. It doesn't let you, that's what I was afraid of, it doesn't let you exclude saved audiences. Can I do it down here? This is create new, search existing. Yeah. Unless it's just not showing up here yet. But there is a thing where, like, there's certain types of audiences that you can't exclude, which is super obnoxious. All, yeah, it's not showing up in here at all. Is it just that it's not done making it yet? I will report back to it. It says it's ready. New York. Yeah. I'll find out. I'll check again tomorrow. I'm gonna do lunch with Mal and I'll report back. But I'm getting a feeling that maybe I can't use this for exclude, which is kind of funny. I can't use it for include either. Like, why do you even make these audiences if you can't use them anywhere? Let me try switching this off of Advantage Plus and see if I get the option then to exclude New York. Add exclusions, custom audiences. No, still not in there. This seems really weird. I feel like it's just not actually showing up yet. So I will report back tomorrow if it's possible. I know, right? 3 years later, I mean, it's going to make you really want to duplicate your ad sets a lot more. That's why, like, you've got 3 options. Don't use images or video that could trigger the law. Don't advertise in New York, or put in the disclosure. I feel like, that's the 3 options. But I will. Oh, here we are. Use the saved audience. It's here. So how's that going to work? Use the saved audience for New York. Remove saved audience. Okay, so that's not going to do what I want. It's just like a straight saved audience. I guess that makes sense based on what I picked on the other page. So maybe that's the angle then. That might be the way to do it. Just make the audience excluding New York, like make it with all the individual states, because I can't exclude a saved audience, which you did used to be able to do that. That I know. But make an audience with all the individual states, and then make that a saved audience, and then use that as your foundation and just load it in and change it after the fact. I think that's going to have to be the other way of doing that. I've actually got to reach out to a couple of authors and find out if they care about this law. My heaviest AI users are actually that I work with that give me the creative for doing their ads, are all outside the United States, so they might not give a shit. But I probably should find out before I reach out to them if these laws are coming into effect in their countries as well. But I'm going to stop belaboring this. You guys can, of course, make your own decisions. But again, this law on the screen is the one that you need to look into. And again, it is about synthetic performers in ads, performers that look like humans, and could be mistaken for being a human and are not recognizable as a human. So the interesting thing is, if you made an AI video of yourself and it looks like you, you're fine. Like, that's the interesting thing, right? Or if you got permission, actually in New York, you don't need permission for this. If you just took you actually have like a character, like an actual model pose for your cover, and you made a video of the model, AI video of the model for your cover, and is recognizable as a human performer, then I think you're okay as well. Actually, that one I'm not quite so sure about. Um, the asset must read as human. Intended to create the profession. Yeah, but yeah, the New York law does say not recognizable as any identifiable natural performer. So it's like, so AI videos of real people are okay. I guess they're assuming that if you don't get their permission to do it, they'll sue you, and then you just wouldn't have done it. I don't know. It's I I I read this, and again, not a lawyer, not legal advice. I read this to say that if I made a video of myself, it'd be fine, right? Um, so, or you made a video of an identifiable performer that you had the permission to do that for, you'd be fine. Uh, so we get to find out over the next couple of months, like what this shape this law is actually going to take as it gets litigated. And then also keep in mind that the federal government wants to put in laws to make it so the states can't make these laws about AI, because we're going to end up with a patchwork of laws. The federal government just wants, big brother capitalism to do whatever they want. But I actually do agree that we're going to have a patchwork of laws that are really hard to follow. And on top of that, what ends up happening is the one state that makes the most restrictive law sets the law for the whole country, because then everybody has to sort of operate, well, my ad can be shown in that state, so yada yada yada. So anyway, I'm going to go. I will actually see you guys tomorrow, because I have other things to talk about tomorrow. There's been changes to Facebook I want to talk about, all sorts of other things. So that's why this is a special edition of Brunch with Mal. And I will see you fabulous folks manana. Ciao.